And some big changes could be on the way over at BC Ferries as the company considers ways of tightening its operations up. On the line, terminal consolidations and service cuts to one of the most popular routes in the system. Greg Harper is live in Horseshoe Bay this morning with more on that. Greg.
Good morning, Kyle. We are talking about the Horseshoe Bay to Departure Bay route. One of the busiest routes here, Departure Bay, of course, being Nanaimo. This is a route that services over 2 million passengers a year, and BC Ferries is considering scrapping this route altogether. If this does happen, it would mean that all sailings would run out of Tawasin, which, of course, would mean a longer drive for those wanting to head to Vancouver. This is an option that has been listed in a report looking at ways the Ferry Corporation can be more efficient. Also, BC Ferries says the Horseshoe Bay Ferry Terminal needs $200 million in upgrades. Ferry passengers we talked to aren't happy with this idea.
BC Ferries pull stuff away all the time. They imposed a fuel surcharge. The price of fuel went down. They're going to keep the fuel surcharge against the people that depend on this place and pay for it, and the prices go up all the time. They should go out of business. There's no way a business would ever survive doing this stuff to people. Let's just get rid of it and try something different.
We need to go out and consult with people on the way forward. So we need to talk to communities, to business associations, our customers, and everyone else before we can do anything. But this is realistically 5 years out before we could even start to implement any of this.
Yeah, so if this does happen, changes aren't expected to take place years from now. But public consultation on this, that will start next year. Kyle?
All right, Greg Harper live this morning in Horseshoe Bay. Greg, thank you very much. A big change comes into effect tomorrow at Vancouver International Airport that's been 2 years in the making. People catching cabs at YVR will be given fixed taxi rates for trips to Richmond and Vancouver. Fares will range from $20 to $41. Rides to downtown Vancouver will be set at $35. It wasn't easy, but cab companies are on board with the plan.
This way, we've simplified the travel for the customer, and they will know before they step into the cab what the guaranteed rate will be for their destination from YVR to anywhere in Richmond or Vancouver.
Passengers heading to the northeast portion of Vancouver face the most expensive charge at $41. Vancouver police are investigating a serious crash from overnight involving one of their own vehicles. It happened at around 2 o'clock this morning near Quebec Street and West 2nd Avenue. Investigators are still trying to figure out exactly what happened, but it appears the driver of the black Civic was heading south on Quebec and was hit by the police cruiser, that is, as the cruiser was heading east on West 2nd. Both drivers were taken to hospital with what are believed to be non-life-threatening injuries.
When I got out from my car, the driver of the black Civic was, walking out from his car, and he was complaining of chest pain. And then I proceeded to check out the officer in the VPD cruiser, and he said he was fine. And minutes later, other cruisers and the paramedics showed up, and I just did some translation for the Civic driver because he spoke no English.
Meanwhile, Surrey RCMP are investigating the cause of this crash at 128th Street and 100th Avenue. It happened at around 5 o'clock last night when a car and a pickup truck collided head-on. 4 people were rushed to hospital, including one who was removed from the wreckage by the jaws of life. RCMP are giving us a glimpse of the suspect they're looking for in connection with the double stabbing at a Surrey restaurant. Photos show the man accused of attacking 2 workers on Sunday at the business on King George Boulevard and 72nd Avenue. He entered through a back door and picked up a restaurant knife when he was confronted by the cooks. The suspect is around 40 years old, 5 feet 11, heavy-set with olive-colored skin. RCMP think he could be Middle Eastern. One of the victims has been released from hospital. The other is still being treated. Classes are back in session at Argyle Secondary School in North Vancouver today, one day after the North Shore was hit by a deluge of floodwaters, mud, rocks and debris. Crews in North Vancouver were still clearing a blocked culvert yesterday afternoon that contributed to Monday night's flooding. All of that heavy rain caused Hastings Creek to overflow and sent water crashing into roads and homes. In some areas, it was several feet deep. Argyle Secondary was damaged by floodwaters, and a portion of Frome Road collapsed. About 20 homes were evacuated.
I look out the front door, and I mean, she's knee deep over there, and it's just going down the stairs like a waterfall. and then I go in the basement and it's almost up to me waist. And yeah, it was just crazy.
Advanced voting is about to get underway in more municipalities today, with less than 2 weeks to go until the BC civic election. Advanced polls officially opened at several locations in Vancouver yesterday. Some big changes have been made this year to make the voting process easier for residents. The city is hoping to see a 40% voter turnout rate in Vancouver.
We have 8 locations this time round, which is, in terms of an increase, it's close to a 300% increase in the number of hours that people can advance vote. And as in the past, people can vote at any one of the advanced voting locations, and they're spread throughout the city.
Some Metro Vancouver restaurants, bars, and coffee shops are about to get a lot more democratic. It's all part of the Feed Democracy campaign put on by the Broadbent Institute. The goal is to increase voter turnout by meeting with customers and reminding them the civic election is now underway. 20 establishments across Metro Vancouver are involved.
And I love the name Feed Democracy, because that's what democracy needs. It needs to be fed to be strong, and it needs everyone's voices, it needs everyone's contribution, and that's not just going to happen on its own.
A small reprieve for Vancouver residents fighting to maintain land along the Arbutus corridor. CP Rail is stopping work along the dormant rail line while the matter is before the courts. The city is seeking an injunction, with the case being heard in December. Earlier this year, CP announced plans to activate the line, removing community gardens near the tracks. That's seen as a pressure tactic to force the city's hand. It's reportedly offered $20 million for the land, while the railway is seeking much more for it. The Harper government's anti-prostitution law is now just one step away from becoming law. The government says the bill would protect sex workers by giving them access to bodyguards and the ability to work indoors. It wants the bill to become law by next month. Critics say the new law will likely face court challenges. The group Sex Professionals of Canada says the new laws won't improve things and will ensure violence against Canadian sex workers will continue. Acknowledging it was late in the campaign, the NPA finally unveiled its election platform yesterday on the first day of advance voting in Vancouver. The Civic Party's full 60-point platform would tie property tax to inflation, with NPA mayoral candidate Kirk Lapointe promising he will use any surpluses to pay down city debt. Lapointe also renewed his vow to bring more openness in government, saying he will hold weekly public meetings to listen to concerns if he's elected mayor.
I do think that the city is handcuffing itself right now. Our debt servicing our debt financing charges are getting to the point where they're not tolerable, and we're very soon going to be seeing debt service charges of about 10% of our overall operating spending, and that ties the hands of the city in the future, and it obviously penalizes the next generation.
Vision Vancouver is calling the Nonpartisan Association platform a risky proposal. The campaign also claims its analysis of the NPA's proposed policies show an estimated $146 million in new spending. Vision also claims the platform ignores issues like homelessness, childcare, climate change, and mental health issues.
We need leadership in Vancouver that cares about our city and represents the values and voters deserve to see a platform that is released before the voting begins. As we know, the NPA has released their platform after the voting began.
Meantime, organizers and speakers in downtown Vancouver say ending homelessness is absolutely possible. Those submissions came from policymakers, advocates, and researchers at the Sheraton Wall Centre. That's where the National Conference on Ending Homelessness is now underway, and it was met with proposals, of course, outside earlier in the week. Blue Rodeo, meantime, is headlining its first ever homeless benefit concert. The direct concert proceeds will go towards developing a national campaign to house and support roughly 20,000 of Canada's most vulnerable.
Yeah, we travel a lot on buses, and you certainly see it. You know, the smaller the community, the less likely you are to see it. More often, they've been able to handle the problem because it's a manageable size. You get into the bigger cities, and it becomes a really unmanageable problem.